Hi, Coach Adam. What's up?
God, I want to say so much stuff, but I can't. God, I want to say so much stuff. I keep remembering my head coach. Let's go.
Adam, what's your Tiger 24/7?
All right, man. So we know that there's been a bunch of stuff going on social media with Colorado ever since last year. They're the media darlings of the world. We get it. How polarizing Coach Prime is, how polarizing his sons are. Shedeur Sanders, should have been that first round pick if he was in this draft. He's going to be top 5 next year. To the rumors coming about that I don't want my sons and Travis Hunter to go to teams that are not top 5 teams. All this bull crap coming out, right?
It's funny that it says that, but then he was like, these are the 8 teams out of 32 to have that have permission to draft, that I have given permission to draft Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
All comes out
Shiloh,
just,
I guess. He doesn't care about Shiloh. He's like, Shiloh can get whatever.
Him and Shiloh have never had the best relationship.
No,
anyways,
I know. But
so I think Shiloh's like, I'm gonna do you a favor, I guess, by coming to play for your team, which is can already tell you where that attitude comes from. But anyways, here's what I heard the other day, and we can expound on this as much as we want to, and I know we all have a lot to say. But the reason why this is such a compelling argument and we need to talk about this is for the simple fact that a lot of people are like, what do you think would have happened back in the day with the social media age? And I really really put a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not even going to lie. Because, again, you could go back to the old Spider-Man movies, man. With great power comes great responsibility.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it's as simple as that, brother.
Who's about to die?
So I'm gonna get on my rant, but I know I've been waiting to hear this all night, because I know Don's got a lot to say. Don, get it out the way, man. You watched Deion since he was in college.
Spotify background music. I'm ready for this.
You watched Deion since he was in college. You watched him more than all of us in the NFL. I was really young at the time when I was starting to get into football. I remember him playing. I don't remember him playing for the Falcons as much as I remember him playing for San Francisco and the Cowboys, and then the Ravens is more like what I really recognize him from. I had to go back in the memory banks and in the NFL films to go watch the stuff. So from all that standpoint, to seeing how his sons are, is everything that he's doing right now justified?
Well, I looked at this a couple different ways, and I started with what is a coach supposed to do? Because, I mean, he came up through the ranks seemingly the right way till he got to Colorado. So the most important key to a coach's success is the ability to develop your players. I think we all agree with that. Winning at football requires much more than diagramming a play. It demands a clearly established culture, organizational philosophy, and a unified approach to teaching. To accomplish this, you must have a clear understanding of organization culture, leadership style, managing players, running effective practices, and dealing with the media. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy. Tearing down your players publicly, urging all others who don't drink your brand of Kool-Aid to transfer elsewhere publicly, and have other players on your team be your mouthpiece in your defense is not the typical actions of a coach. Rather, in my opinion, these are the actions of a narcissist. You say, what's a narcissist? Well, narcissism is characterized by a heightened sense of self-importance, a need for excessive admiration, a lack of empathy for others. While it's essential to recognize that not all narcissists are the same, there is a common thread among them: their conviction that they are the center of the universe. And this is how I see Prime.
Woo, Don!
Let him cook.
Yeah, exactly. Don said, "Listen up, kids."
He said, "Let me explain something to you, boy."
I think out of everybody here, me and Don probably feel the most closely to it because he's watched them throughout the years. And of course, I'm a Florida State fan. Sora and Hayden, I'm gonna let you guys go next respectfully after. But this is what I got to say about it.
Holy crap.
First of all, if you go back to the videos, not only did we predict them to win 4 games, but the fact that I got all the backlash for not supporting another African American guy just because he's African American and going to go and that he was a former pro and all pro and probably the best football player of all time is absolutely ridiculous. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. It's a lazy thesis. It's a lazy argument. And to use that against me just because I predicted them to have 4 wins, go tell me how Mario Cristobal did his first year at Miami. I digress. I've said this before. Don't need to reiterate and beat the horse. I never wanted him at Florida State. And this was why. I never wanted the spotlight on us because we were still getting our reputation back from everything that had happened to us. And I know how he was when he was at Jackson State, which was great for their school because it was a HBCU, and he antithesis everything that the African-American male and what was good for football in HBCU. It was great for that. It's not great for today's game in FBS football, okay? I did not want that to happen at our school. And while Mike Norvell was trying to turn the ship around, we literally fired a coach after 2 seasons because he couldn't do it. Not the fact that nobody believed in him, but because it was almost the same thing that had happened at the last year of the tenureship of Jimbo Fisher, and we had just more of negativity and more mediocrity at Florida State, right? I did not want that to happen. And I thought that Mike Norvell was deserving because he had the track record. He did what he did at a smaller school. And we just need to have a little bit more belief in him. And what ended up happening, regardless of how you feel about our championship, not our championship season, but our undefeated season, we were 13-0 in the season before we took our loss to Georgia. I know I said a lot, but I just had to get that out the way. You had, in your 2024 recruiting class, 5 enrollees. You took 38 transfers in, and more than half of those guys have already transferred out or committed somewhere else. What does that say about your program? I'm not hating. I've never been in your position. All that I'm saying is that your program itself is not going to turn itself around with just transfers. It's the great thing to do, but how teams have been using the transfer portal, like Kirby Smart and people that are smart, have been using it to fill in that void that their team has needed, a.k.a. Ohio State with somebody like
Will Howard.
Will Howard coming over from Kansas State. That's how you use the transfer portal. Recruiting will always be at the center nucleus of your team, and it's not a quick turnaround, and it's so obvious that you're only going to want to stay at Colorado because of your sons. Now let's get over to the social media stuff. Just because you have social media and you use it as a platform, and by all accounts, you've gotten the clicks, you've gotten everything, but Dan Lanning, who's around my age in his 30s, who's had way more success than you as a head coach in his 2 years of head coaching, has done a greater job than you have. And don't say it's because he had the resources with Nike and all this other stuff. You had not even that, but probably more because of your name, and you did nothing with it but give us mediocrity these last 2 years. And your social media is nothing but the antithesis on how you don't run a program and how you are not fit to be a head coach right now. Sean Lewis was one of the best offensive minds in college football, and he took not only himself but his coordinators to go to San Diego State and build what is going to be a great program in the next couple of years. And guess what? I'm going to tap on the mic right now. He's probably going to have more than 4 wins at his first season as a head coach at San Diego State because he knows that recruiting is the center point of your program, and he knows how to develop players and bring offensive talent to his team. With all that being said, I don't agree with what you did on social media because, like Don said, you have not only have opened up the floodgates for your team, you have opened up the floodgates for the biggest target on your back in college football. If you don't think that Ollie Gordon might not run for 350 yards or breaking the NCAA record against that defense, that was one of the worst points of your team last year,
Yes.
you're absolutely kidding yourself. These guys are gunning for you, and just because Texas and Oklahoma have already packed their bags and went to the SEC, you better hope and pray and thank the heavens
Yeah, thanks
above
for
that they weren't playing in your conference this year, because it would have been you would have gotten drugged through the mud. With all that being said, Coach Prime, I wish you nothing but luck. I don't wish anything bad on your sons, because that's not the way that I roll. But I do wish that you guys do have you guys don't win one game this season, and I hope that you guys learned the biggest mistake that you could have did is by treating that kid the way that you did, and for your teammates and your coaches and everybody just to be okay with your players going to go attack that player when this is one of the points in their life where they're still developing.
Yep.
And that kid did not have the resources and things that your kids have had. And I think that's just a little hard for you to understand, because you have been away from not only knowing what it was like growing up when your mom had to work 2 jobs and things like that. And I'm not trying to get personal, I'm just painting the picture here. I think you've forgotten the struggle that you've dealt with, because your kids haven't had to deal with that struggle that you dealt with when you were younger. But then you're recruiting kids that had to deal not only with maybe worse, but similar situations that you did in your age, Coach Prime, when you were 18 to 22 years old. So when the time that you make the post that you make on social media like the way that you do, just think about that at the end of the day. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Y'all basically nailed it on the head. We've been speaking about this for weeks and weeks, so I'm just going to make this short and sweet. I don't like what I'm seeing. As a coach, you're supposed to be here bringing up guys. There's this issues you have, you keep behind closed doors. You don't go out bragging about it on social media, bashing a player because you didn't like him. Mm-hmm. Has any of you guys seen a guy like Nick Saban do it, Kirby Smart do it, Jim Harbaugh do it? These top coaches last year do it. What Deion's doing to his former players right now. You don't. And that's what separates great coaches from coaches like Deion. He is not being the leader of this team that you need him to be, because you'll, of course, have leaders in the locker room. You'll have that. But your job is, as a coach, is to get these guys mentally and physically ready to go week in and week out, ready to go win football games. And all this drama, all this offseason bullshit, if I'm being honest here, that they're doing is not how you have a good locker room. This is how you get locker room cancers to happen. This is how you lose locker rooms, like people say.
I would say the transfer portal is a big indication of how much he's lost his locker room. If
exactly.
you all want to be completely honest with you,
it's gone. The locker room's not there anymore. He lost his best player on offense, and Edwards, to the portal. You're losing 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀 as much as we have talked about him. You're still losing the former number 1 recruit from I believe the 2022 recruiting class. You're losing these top recruits that you recruited so heavily on, the 5 you have. You're losing them, and that's not going to be good. And Colorado is going to continue to be around 3-4 wins.
It's crazy. Sir?
Yeah, I mean, this is not becoming a cancer. This is already a cancer. I've not been a fan of Deion, and it's not because, he played for FSU or Dallas. I wasn't alive during that time. That doesn't affect me. But I've always have not been a fan of Deion, and he is his sons are exactly a reflection of what he is, a pompous prick. I mean, I'm gonna just be straight up. They're all punks, and before you're like, this dude's being a cracker. I was born in South Alabama, bro. I've heard worse, dog. You can't affect me here.
We just got demonetized.
And it's like, well, I mean, we have.
You know
We were
that
called out
they're
here.
gonna come. They're gonna say what they're gonna say about me. They're gonna say
Yeah,
things
I
about Don.
mean,
They're gonna say
we
things
literally-
about
it
you.
was
They're
the
gonna say
same for
things
all of
about
us. If you
Sora.
hated against Dion, bro, it was a cardinal sin to them. But I mean, it's true. This is right now they're being a cancer to this team right now and to just college football in general.
Yeah.
It's as a head coach, you are supposed to be you're supposed to be like a father figure. I'm not saying that you have to actually, treat these kids like they're your own sons, but you don't go on social media and bash down some 18 to 20-year-old kid who performs better than your own son on defense. That's fucking crazy. And then for the kids, you're not a part of the, administration of the team. You're football players. You're not in charge of the recruitment or all that stuff. You don't go DM me for offense, DM Shiloh for defense. You're not in charge of that stuff. You're 18 to 20-year-old kids. And again, for both Dion and his kids, like posting all this stuff on public Twitter, it's public for a reason, right? Like NFL general managers are seeing this for Shiloh and Shador. And if Dion ever steps away from Colorado, you think another team's going to take a chance on him after everything that is said?
No.
Again, we can say the transfer portal's a trap all you want, but it went crazy last year when everybody came over, and now that they've had a year under Dion, everybody's leaving for a reason. Once them rappers and everybody stopped showing up, it was not pretty.
I mean, I want to speak up for one coach, and then we can move on to the more fun segment of this.
Yes.
Of this college
Oh,
football.
I'm about to shock. Dante, they're about to be shocked.
I don't think you guys are gonna be shocked by mine. I already said this, but anyways,
no.
Probably not.
Coach JB gets a lot of hate for the way that he treated his players on Last Chance U.
Oh yeah.
But again, time and time again, you see his players show up on his show. You've seen, the clips come out of like Jermaine Johnson making it to the NFL and several other of his players. I don't think he's touched on this topic, but I can honestly say that him being a JUCO coach and the way that he treated those kids, they needed a little bit of, they were a little rough around the edges and they needed a little bit of like oomph to get to where they needed to go. Because it was their last chance. I mean, JUCO was their last chance. And it's almost like, yes, was he yelling at them? He wanted to bring the best out of them on the field. He was worried about their grades. It's like everything that Coach Prime has been coached, like the saying is like, get your grades up, do this, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things he always used to say is, I want to make you a better man. But there's not another man on planet Earth that's going to go to another kid and beat them down, and they haven't made it to where they want to get to yet. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
everybody had a little bit of help in their life.
It's not like they have to be babied the entire time. It's not like if you make a mistake or whatever, it's like, oh, don't worry, you're gonna like. Yes, obviously coaches are going to yell at them. Coaches are not going to degrade them and treat them like gravel underneath somebody's boot.
What would Dion have to do to
JB at least didn't do that part. But again, it's also
Yeah.
JUCO. This is the last chance, so obviously it's going to be a lot tougher. This is a Power 5. They've made it. They could literally go to any other school right now. You are not, the holy figure you think you are.
Yeah. What would Dion have to do to right the ship, Dylan says? Stop all the social media stuff. Get to playing real football. And most importantly, if he doesn't want to do any of that, make a bowl game this year. Make a bowl game this year and get some of your players in the NFL that are not named Shador and Shiloh. That's how you rate
Travis.
Make a
or
bowl
Travis.
game and then, be somewhat humble about it. Don't be like, yeah, F everybody that said we couldn't do it, all that stuff, and then be another, fucking prick about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, look at Dan Lannon's video.
Yeah. I
We're
mean,
fighting
but
for
again,
wins.
this is
They're
Dion
fighting
we're
for
talking
clicks.
about, so
Yeah.
that's not happening.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when, I still think it's funny. Again, I'm not laughing at nobody's injury, but it's just karma at the end of the day. When Shiloh went up to all the Oregon players and talked about, we're going to beat the crap out of y'all and all this stuff, and then he ended up in the hospital because he's pissing blood.
Pissing blood, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
You talk
Yeah.
crap to these players who are being coached by a guy who came from the SEC who
And
has
worked his-
taught 'em
if
how
you
to
look-
hit.
And you know about Dan Lannon's story. He went through the mud to get to where he was going, bro. If you guys can, I forget the guy that played tight end at Penn State when when Hackenberg was still there. I forget the guy's name, but he has a podcast and he interviewed Dan Lannon. Just go listen to his story and tell me that, like, yeah, Dan deserved everything that he got right now in this. That's a real coach, and he's way younger than you and more professional than you are. This is what I don't understand. People are going to click on you regardless if you win games. No wonder these celebrities halfway through the season didn't show up. I said that was going to happen.
Yep.
You did.
You put too much pressure on your players instead of focusing on winning games. How do celebrities come this year after you won a bowl game and I was actually a contender last year? Y'all wouldn't know. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, we improved by 4 games, but you were still last in your division. So was it really any movement?
No.
You were still last in the Pac-12.
But you got been, from all the hype, they should have been at least middle road. They should not have lost that badly to Washington State like they did.
Hey, Don, the last time I remember, oh yeah, I got a 2.0 this semester. Oh, I got a 2.4. It's still a 2. It's still the same grade.
You still a dumbass.
You still dumb.